Anywhere you go, give it on. Anywhere you say, anywhere.
For this project, I'm going to use a Korean drop yarn, and you may use whatever yarn that you have together with the compatible hook. And also you will need to know the head circumference of the one you're making it for. If you're making it for yourself, you need to check what is the size that you will need in order for it to fit for you. And also you will need the crochet stitch counting guide. This will really be a big help, especially if you need to know how many stitches you must have for each round. So for round 1, all you need to do is make a magic ring and work 6 single crochets in there. Now for round 2, we're not going to close the round with a slip stitch. Instead, we will just keep working a single crochet. So into the very first single crochet, we're going to do 2, or an increase. So meaning we're going to work 2 single crochets into every stitch around. So you should have a total of 12 single crochets in total. Once you get to round 3, we're now going to work a single crochet into the very first single crochet of this round, and then into every second stitch or into the next stitch we're gonna do 2 single crochets. So the increase will be into every second stitch for this round only. So by the end of this round, you should have a total of 18 single crochets in total. We're going to start working the increase into every third. So we're gonna work 2, then 1 single crochet into each of the next 2, and then 2 single crochets, 1 into each of the next 2 stitches, and we're going to repeat that around. Right, so when you finally get to the last stitch, you should have a single crochet in there. Now we're going to work our first single crochet into the next round, which is round 5. So this time we're gonna work an increase into every 4th stitch. So we'll be working the individual single crochets first. 1, 2, 3, and then into every 4th, that is where we're gonna work our increase or 2 single crochets, and then we're just going to repeat that around. So when you finally get back around, you should have your last stitch with an increase, and we're going to alternate again. This time we're just gonna start by working the increase first. So we're gonna work our first single crochet in there, and then work another single crochet into the same stitch, and then into every 5th stitch, that is where we're gonna add the increase. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the 5th stitch. That is where we're gonna work our increase. Now remember, we're alternating the increase so that it will remain circle and not looking or shaping like a pentagon. Now when you take a look closely, we're not slip stitching into each round. It could be very confusing, but I suggest that you check the crochet stitch counting guide so that you will know how many rounds or how many stitches you need for each round. And to know how many rounds we have so far, you can start counting from the first round to the right where you add the stitch marker. So if you're gonna check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, when you reach round 6, the increase would be into every 5th stitch, and so on. So that's how we increase, or that's how we add increase into every round to maintain the flatness of the circle. So that's gonna be the base for our hat. Now once we get the size that we need, the circumference size, so I'm making this for a 4-year-old kit. So for 4-year-olds, I will need about, I think, 18 inches. That's the size of the circumference that I need in order to stop the increase after that. And then we're gonna make the rounds with just working 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then after that we're going to add an increase again. So make sure you know where you stop. Now the reason why I am working in spiral or by not slip stitching into every round is that you won't see any traces of join. So that's the good thing about working with a bulky yarn and using a bigger hook, and you will be able to make a hat in less than an hour if you're already a fast crocheter or you've done a lot of projects like this. So as you can see, there's no traces of join, but this one, the shape is a bit different because I did not alternate the increase. I added increase on the same spot working in spiral rounds, but it's just the same. There's a slight difference with how it's gonna look when you check the brim of the hat. It's a little pointy, so if you don't like that, you can alternate the increase so that it will be much rounded. So this is for a 5-year-old. It's a small hat. It is about 25 grams, and I'm just using one ball, so hopefully this would fit a smaller size. And this one is called a bucket hat, so it's a good project, especially for the holidays if you're looking for a very easy bucket hat. So all you need to do is to know the crochet stitch counting guide. So it's a must that you know where to add an increase to make the base of your hat, and then after that you're gonna work just one single crochet into every stitch around to get this depth. And then once you get the depth that you want, okay, so this will determine the size for the hat you're making for. So if you're making for a baby, then you will only need a few rows of that. Now once you get to the size, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start increasing again. So by the way, when you add an increase, it should be after the last increase that you made in this one. So it's easy to spot. Just look for where you have added an increase and count the number of individual stitches in between. So say if you have 7 here, so and then the 8th stitch will be the increase, so it means the increase will start into the 9th stitch. So that's how it works, and then into the 10th, 11th, 12th, until you get this brim of the hat to make it look like a bucket hat. So I will keep working an increase, and then I'll show you what's gonna happen after that. So now once you get to the circumference that you need, so you should have the size of the person you're making it for, so you can check the crochet head sizing chart that you can find on Pinterest, and then look for the size that you need for a specific age. So in my case, I'm making this for a 3 to 4 year old, and usually it is about 20, but since she has a small head, so I'm gonna just do 17. This is just 16. So once you get the size, so you can now stop working an increase. So once you stop working an increase, this is what happens. So this will be the depth of the hat. So we will continue working one single crochet into every stitch. So this is for a small head, and if the circumference is still small, you can keep working, adding an increase into every round. So I'm on round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I'm on round 10. So whenever you're counting the rounds, it should be on the right side where you added your stitch marker. So that's gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. And the individual single crochets in the middle are 8. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And in between I have the increase or 2 single crochets. Now once you get the circumference size that you need, next thing is we're just going to work 1 single crochet into every stitch around. So that is what we're gonna do, and do not forget to add a stitch marker to know where to start each round. So keep working 1 single crochet into every stitch until you get the depth that you want for the hat. So after working a few rows of just 1 single crochet to every stitch, and if you want to count that, just start from where you didn't add the increase. So you may start counting from here where you don't see the increase. So let me just check that. So we're gonna start from here. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 rows of 1 single crochet into every stitch. So once you get the height, now we will continue working an increase. So the last increase that we had is on the increase on every 9th stitch. So this time we're gonna make an increase into every 10th stitch. So I'm gonna work 1 more here, and then I'm gonna work 1 single crochet into each of the next 9 stitches. So there should be 9 individual single crochets in between the increase. So meaning into every 10th stitch, that is where we're gonna work our increase. So far we have 3 6 7 8 and 9, and then we're going to work an increase and then continue working an increase. So from here on we will keep on working an increase. So in the next round we're gonna work an increase into the 11th, next is 12th, 13, 14, and so on until you get the length of the brim that you want. So you will know when your counting is right if you ended up with an increase into the very last stitch. So this is where I did my last increase. It should be on every 10th stitch. If you lost 1 stitch, it means you probably have lost counting, and this is the reason why we add stitch marker, so that we will know the start of the next round. So we're gonna remove this one and then work our increase. And then add 1 more, and this time it's gonna be 10 single crochet or 10 individual single crochets in between increase. So that's how we work an increase until we get to the length that we want. So it is really good to work in rounds because you won't see any traces of the join of each round, because if you work a slip stitch you will see a line that goes from here to here, but when you do it in rounds you won't see any of that. So as you can see, we added increase, and it's easy to count. So you just work or count the number of stitches where you added increase, and that's how you will know how many rounds you have made. So this is the finished product. this is what it looks like if you're going to work a slip stitch around. It's a bit short, but you can make it longer if you want. This is what it looks like now. So it's a bucket hat.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.